This is going to be the last section in building your brand identity. We're going to talk for just a few minutes. I don't think this one will take that long to talk about having a consistent brand voice. Makes zero sense to put a lot of energy into your brand if you don't stick with your brand's voice. Now, I'm going to give you some questions here in a minute to think about to establish your brand voice. And if you still aren't sure, there's some other activities you can take. So, if you go and look at the written guide to this course, or at some point early on in it, I talk like who I call Captain Jack Sparrow from the movie Pirates. I have a little pirate emoji in the text itself. And that's just who I am. If you can't tell going through this, I'm a fairly informal person when I speak. I try and speak intelligently and I try and speak professionally, but I'm also pretty informal. When I go into meetings, I'm willing to laugh, not goof off too much, but goof off a little bit. I'm willing to do certain things. I also think about, how I dress and things like that so that they're consistent with my brand. But a few years ago, I was actually up for a job, and it was an analyst job, and it required a written assignment as part of the interview process. And I was doing that assignment, and candidly, I rushed it because the next day when I was to turn it in, my family and I were going on vacation. And so I got in a hurry to do it. And one of the things I did that I didn't feel good about after the fact was that I didn't speak in my own voice, my own tone, the way I speak. I allowed the topic and the company that I was talking to sort of get me to change who I was a little bit. And that really didn't feel good because I wasn't being me. I wasn't being authentic to me. This company apparently I didn't do good on the interview because of this. I didn't get the job because of this exact project. This company apparently liked to be extremely formal in their written word. They like to be what I call academic in their written word. And I had used kind of my normal tone that I use when I create a blog post or do text like this or talk to someone in a video or in person, those types of things. So the good news is, as I look back on it now, I kind of wanted that opportunity. But as I look back on it now, it feels good that I didn't get it because I would have spent years working for that company using their tone, their voice, not mine, right? So as you're developing the brand for your business, you need to think about these kinds of things. It should mirror who you are, but also mirror your target market. So right now I'm speaking to you all. I'm not speaking to the president of the United States or president of another country or a CEO of a large company. Most likely, I'm talking to people who I assume are a lot like me. And so using this tone, this informal speaking method is probably okay. But you should mirror the personality of your customers, and your brand should also mirror them in other ways. So if you are in the financial services industry, it used to make sense to wear suits everywhere you went. I used to have to do that when I was a banker. So I was one of you. And so you typically try and look the part for the brand that you're going to be. But developing your brand voice isn't too hard. Here's a couple of questions I want you to think about. Just pause after this and write them down. They're in the guide itself, and go ahead and think this through. So what are the core values that you want to come through in your voice? How do you talk or write? Do you talk fast? Do you talk slow? Are you good about putting pauses in every now and then like I just tried to do? Do you use a lot of slang and acronyms? I've been in meetings with companies before where I was in one earlier this week, a startup that I was working with, and they were using so many acronyms, it was almost kind of got a little annoying because number one, they were using acronyms assuming that I knew what all of them meant. I'm not in their industry. And it's really, you see this a lot with scientific folk. They will use too many acronyms and that becomes part of their brand voice. And, that's not always a good thing. So do you use a lot of slang? Do you allow your Southern accent to come out like mine just did? That type of thing. Are you technical or a generalist with your tone? Do you use a lot of flowery language, or do you like to be very simple in your language? As a writer and a speaker, I try and be pretty simple. I don't try and be overly fancy with my words. And that's part of my brand voice and my company's brand voice. Do you speak directly to the point, or are you the type of person who kind of meanders through a topic and has very lengthy discussions? So this may feel like I've been a little lengthy in this video. I said it would be short, but generally speaking, I'm direct and to the point when I have discussions with people. I try and cut through a lot of chit chat and just get right down to the point. That's part of me, and therefore that's part of my brand voice. So if you're, take a moment, think about some of these questions that I just put out there. Think about how they apply to not only you, so you can be authentic with your brand voice, but how it will relate to your target market. Again, this is all part of your go-to-market motions. The last thing I will share is if you're not sure of your brand voice and you have existing customers, a good practice is to go ask them. Ask them how they view your brand voice. Ask them, do you see my brand as very formal or informal? Do you see my brand as using overly flowery language, or are we very simplistic in the things we say, or do we cut to the chase? Do we speak with a lot of acronyms, or are we good about speaking in what's called layman's terms? Do we speak fast? Do we speak slow? Those types of things. These are all very important. So if you're struggling with it and it doesn't feel authentic to you, it's okay to pause and ask customers what they think. They have experienced your brand voice. You just may not realize it. And this really matters because they will hopefully identify with that brand voice. And that will give you a much deeper relationship with your end customer.